yourself up for probably disappointment later tonight. But I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
50 points in a fourth quarter for the Atlanta Hawks. Like, what is going on? It's like circus numbers. What are we doing?
And we sound like 2 old heads complaining. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch sometimes. I don't mind the shooting. I just know the numbers. Like, when you strictly look at it from the numbers in betting, it's getting really hard to bet.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Louis Riddick has interviewed for every job in North America. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about every business in North America of any kind whatsoever. Tire companies, grocery store CEOs, shopping malls, insurance companies. What job hasn't Louis Riddick interviewed for?
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like, Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid.
We're live tonight right here on SportsGrid with another Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you for the next 2 hours as we have a bountiful college basketball board. We have some good NBA games as well, with the Denver Nuggets hosting the Boston Celtics as your main event. I'll be involved in that game. I'm involved with both national games tonight. Lakers, Mavericks, certainly some of the shine taken off of that. With the Mavericks injuries, they enter on a 5-game losing streak. There's some juice a little bit, though, with Dallas. We'll talk about that in just a bit. We will have Mike Blewett join us on our show tonight to talk some big picture NFL, some news out of Vegas. Antonio Pierce fired just a little bit ago. Earlier today, we saw the Titans move on from their general manager. What all of that could mean for the NFL draft. Coach James Young will be joining us in about a half hour as well with this basketball board. And again, it is chock full. Ranked action everywhere you look. Iowa State in the Big 12, laying 17.5 to Utah. A scrappy, streaking Georgetown team catching 12.5 against Marquette. You zoom this thing out a little bit. Florida and Tennessee, the number 1 Vols, are a dog tonight in SEC action. Late night, you've got a double-ranked matchup with UCLA and Michigan in the Big Ten. The Bruins are favored there. Home dog West Virginia is ranked. Duke in action. In fact, a lot of your title contenders are in action tonight. So let's just take a look. The national championship odds, the top 10. Auburn is your favorite, not far behind the Duke Blue Devils. But you see there, to all of those teams that are highlighted, that is the top 10, are in action tonight. Auburn travels on the road in SEC play to go up against Texas. A pretty disappointing team. You consider some of those expectations. Duke in a big one with Pitt. We mentioned Tennessee. They're going to play Florida. Iowa State's a big favorite. Kentucky tonight in one of those danger spots we always see on the college basketball board. A slight road favorite in conference play. They're going to go up against a 12-2 Georgia Bulldogs team. And we're going to take this game by game. I just want to quickly say, what will be interesting to me is to kind of see if we can get any separation in this little pocket right here into the Auburn-Duke tier. I feel like that's tier 1. Houston isn't far behind. Houston, though, hasn't really been able to put together a monstrous marquee result since they lost early season to Auburn. Certainly not a damning loss. They were very competitive in that game, led for a lot of it against the Tigers, but still I think we're wait-and-see mode a little bit there, and clearly still wait-and-see mode on Tennessee. Tonight will prove a lot. It will. Let's start, though, with Duke. A 14.5-point favorite against the Pitt Panthers. Total in this game is 143.5, and that's where my action is tonight. I like over in Duke Pitt at that 143.5 marker. You look at the Duke team total, 79.5. It does feel a touch expensive, but they should be through that number. All of the top offenses that Pitt has played so far this season, you look at Ohio State, Wisconsin, Mississippi State, all through this number against Pittsburgh. Duke fits that description tenfold. Now, they're a little bit slower than some of those basketball teams, which is why I think the 79.5 feels a little expensive, but Duke is so talented, playing so well, they should do their part. But I think Pitt will do their part as well. The Panthers, if you look, right, comparable defensive opponents to the level that Duke provides. It's hard to find. You look at Mississippi State, which was concerning and disappointing, but this team hung 86 on a very slow and good defensive group in West Virginia. I think Pitt tonight can do their portion of this 143.5. I think this game's getting closer to the 150s tonight. Probably lean Panthers on the side, but I'm on that over at 143.5. Let's talk Florida, Tennessee. The number 1 Vols against a Gators group that did just lose to Kentucky, but on the road. All is forgiven. But can we just stop and pause a little bit to take a look at this number? Now, it's moved back a touch. I'll tell you right now, I'm playing Tennessee at +4. I was going to play them at +3.5. Maybe at some point this starts to go a little too far, but it is somewhat of a principal play. How much is home court advantage worth in college basketball? 3 feels short. 5 feels outrageous. Let's call it 3.5 for just a second, because that is the number of points that Florida caught at Kentucky, which means if you take those 3.5 points, remove them for home court advantage, we're even, move the game to Florida, that's what the Gators then would have been laying at home against Kentucky. Well, I like that Wildcats team. They're not within a point of Tennessee. That's not how the books view those basketball teams. We showed you the national title odds. There's a pretty good gap between Kentucky and Tennessee. If it's worth 5 points, if home court advantage is worth 5 points, this still isn't really justifiable when you look at this number. I understand people who are betting Florida. Maybe you'll get the result. I think you have a bad number. Again, unless home court advantage is worth 7-8 points in college, and maybe that's what it is nowadays, I think this is a bad number. I'm going to take 4 points with Tennessee. You'd love to grab 3.5 if you're on the Vols tonight. Kentucky dropping number tonight against Georgia. 2.5s are down to 1.5 on the road in SEC play. People probably looking to fade Kentucky. You think about the road loss that they had when it was the SEC ACC Challenge against Clemson. You think about the struggle that they had at the Garden against Ohio State, and that's where this number checks in. I'm not sure on the side. I am sure that Georgia big man, the young star Asa Newell, will have a great game. 20.5 points plus rebounds is a number he should smash through. When you think about Kentucky, their pace of play, defense still leaves a little bit to be desired early season. Newell should get well through that number tonight. If foul trouble is avoided, in 5 games of 30-plus minutes, he's gone over 20.5 in 4 of the 5. You look at the game he played against St. John's, who is a team that is a tick slower and grades out much better defensively than Kentucky. He went well over a 20.5 points plus rebound marker. I think he does the same tonight against Kentucky. Iowa State, Utah. We mentioned that 17.5 points. Not a game I have any action in, but something to keep tabs on is Tamian Lipsey. The probable best player last year from Iowa State has not been that early season. Still very good defensively, but leaving a lot to be desired on the offensive side of the ball. we talk about Tier 1, which I think at the moment, that's Duke, that's Auburn. Iowa State would love to crash right into that party. I think offensively is maybe where there is some reservation, perhaps because Tamian Lipsey hasn't been at that level just yet. How about UCLA and Michigan? Ranked action tonight when we take a look at the Big Ten. UCLA went up against Gonzaga, put a great result on the board, but I think it shifted numbers a little too much here. Michigan's team total 69.5. That's about 8-9 points shorter than what Gonzaga's team total was when they played UCLA. I'm going to buy this Michigan offense, who is going to be able to get 70 or more points tonight and put the Bruins on a small upset alert. Lastly, maybe my favorite prop on the board tonight, Texas's Trey Johnson. Look, the Auburn Tigers they roll often. I don't want to step in front of them on the double-digit number. I will back Trey Johnson through the 16.5-point marker in a clear bounce-back spot at home. Let's talk NBA next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's a new era in CFP to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
in, but he had that program was already going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, back to the right here. It is game time decisions. What a college basketball board. So excited for a lot of these games tonight. Of course, the big one, Florida and Tennessee. I think that's your game of the night. I know there's odds boosts out there for Duke and Pittsburgh. I mentioned them on that over at 143.5. Let me see if I can grab quickly, though, just across a few spots, the most recent number for Tennessee and Florida, because I know I caught 4. Some of our crew here, they mentioned they're on the Gators at 2.5. Looks like it's 2.5s and 3s out there right now. I would still take Tennessee plus 3 because of what I said about home court advantage. I understand, though, if you're just kind of, I got to back Florida based on this is how home court advantage is. I will say, now Tennessee's strength of schedule is not the greatest. It's better than Florida's. Florida's toughest test, absolutely, Kentucky. They lose the basketball game, right? The next closest would, I think you have to say, the game against North Carolina. Handle their business. It was not at North Carolina, but it was in, North Carolina. But that was a very close game in the second half, late in the second half. Certainly UNC team that's left a lot to be desired. So I want to see Florida prove it tonight against Tennessee. And just to expand a little bit quickly, because I didn't get the great chance to on Trey Johnson, that 16.5 points. But everything that I could possibly want lines up for that number tonight. First of all, he's averaging 19 a game. Now, you talk strength of schedule. Texas is atrocious, and they've lost to any team with a pulse that they've played this season. But I have seen in big spots good games from Trey Johnson. Excellent against Ohio State in the opener. Very good against UConn when they played at home. He was awful against A&M. A&M grades out a much better defense, actually, than that of Auburn, and it was on the road, and I get the follow-up game where he shot the ball under 20% from the field, easily his worst game as a college player. Really like what I got from Trey Johnson tonight. Let's go to the NBA. Fun board on the association, for the association tonight. Nuggets Celtics is where you have to put your eyes. You have to. You look at Denver. It's a 20-14 basketball team who it's certainly already been an up-and-down season. Nikola Jokic is still viewed as the best player in the sport. He has his chance to win MVP, but the winning that Oklahoma City is doing is, really propelling Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They've won 15 regular season games in a row. The loss to the Bucks is mixed in there, but that's where we're at with OKC. OKC extended that streak by beating the Knicks, beating these Boston Celtics, but Jokic is still having that level of a season. And I think for people knowing that Jokic is still this great, right? And the Nuggets are this average, a part of the mix, basically the same record as the Lakers. That doesn't feel right. I think tonight's awesome because it's a great test for both. For Denver, who occasionally gives you a really encouraging performance, right? At home tonight against the Celtics team, who many feel the Nuggets present a bad matchup for. You can talk to people who follow Boston closely, even last year when the Celtics were clearly the best team in the NBA. Many people said, that is not a matchup we want, specific to Nikola Jokic, I think. Can the Nuggets provide those same problems, right, that people felt they provided last season? But on the other end of it, can Boston step on it, right? Celtics are a very difficult team to beat consecutively. And not that Denver would be beating them straight times, but off of a loss, I believe only once this season, we have seen Boston lose, multiple games in a row. Now, it did happen within the last few weeks. Boston, funny enough, at 26-10 is having a down season, but that's the standard that which the Celtics set up for themselves. This is a team that lost 18 games only last year. This is a team who, at the moment, with 10 losses, is more than Cleveland and Oklahoma City combined. The Celtics are the one who are down to 2-1 to win a title. That's the standard for Boston. So I think for Boston, and you see the number, 5.5. It's a good price that they're laying. So I'm excited to watch that play out. What I like in this game tonight is Kristaps Porzingis over 18.5 points. Really like it, in fact. Kristaps is getting back to a lot more usage for this team. And at 18.5, when he plays at least 30 minutes, he's over that in all but one game. It was a game where he scored 17 on 2 of 10 from the field. Was excellent from the line. It was a loss against Orlando. You look at the last game out against OKC, plays 29 minutes. That's a foul trouble thing. 5 fouls in the game, still scored 19 points, despite 1 of 6 shooting from 3. I think going up against Denver, Kristaps' outside game is even more valuable than necessarily him attacking the interior, which could get us 3-4 made shots from beyond the arc, really get us through that 18.5 nicely there in a really fun game late night. earlier on the national side of things, you're going to see the Lakers and the Mavericks. A Dallas team that I believe is one of the best in basketball is now on a 5-game losing streak. And on the second leg of a back-to-back at home, they're catching 6.5 points from the Lakers. The number feels a tick high, but I think it's Dallas's offense tonight that would be responsible for giving them a chance to pull off a slight upset or certainly hang inside that number. I'm going to play the Mavericks team total at 106.5. I think it's a really good number. Expect better shooting. We saw them at home without Kyrie, without Luka against Cleveland, score 122. And you have the Lakers now on a road trip, a real road trip, for the first time in a long time. The Lakers have not played consecutive games outside of Los Angeles since early, or outside of California, early December. And that's when the defense was really bad. The defense was bad against Houston, especially early in that game. I know they almost made the comeback. Let's see how the defense holds up tonight in a game where I'm sure a little bit of the shine taken off, right, for the Los Angeles Lakers without Kyrie and Luka Doncic across from them. That's going to be a hungry Mavericks team. I like that offense at 106.5. And then Miami, Golden State tonight. And we'll get maybe a little more into this basketball game. But give me Draymond Green in a nice bounce-back spot over the 12.5 rebounds plus assists at even money. We have Sports Millions Pick'em right around the corner.
There's going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on SportsGrid. It is Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh with you here, and we have our Sports Millions Pick'em options out there tonight. Plenty of chances on the NBA board, as well as the ice, which is where both Tom Vecchio and Joe Madden will be looking tonight. So let's hear from them, some of their favorite options, again, on Sports Millions Pick'em tonight.
Okay, Tom, we've got a loaded day out there on the ice, and I know both of us are looking at picks here for our higher or lower on our Sports Millions. Where are you going with yours?
Yeah, we're coming off of 2 wins yesterday. Let's turn to the Red Wings going up against the Ottawa Senators. Really like this matchup. Both teams have been playing better as of late, especially the Red Wings. Coaching change. Let's go to Alex DeBrincat for higher than 2.5 shots on goal. He is going up against one of his former teams, which I always love. And when we look over the past 2 weeks for the Senators, while they are playing better hockey, they're still giving up a lot of shot attempts. Specifically, they're giving up 59.3 total shot attempts per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. That's the 11th worst in the league. So we look to DeBrincat. He's on that second forward line. That first power play, there should be ample opportunities for him to continue to fire the puck. He's at least 2 shots on goal in 8 out of his last 10 games. So he's essentially live for this prop every single night. Hopefully those extra chances in this matchup will push him over 2.5. What do you got?
Okay, I absolutely love where you're going there. I think Alex DeBrincat's going to come out nice and strong. I could see him recording 4 or 5 shots in that matchup. Like you said, the Senators not providing that much resistance. When I looked here at the slate today, the Anaheim Ducks are at home and they're facing the Calgary Flames. And a little birdie did tell me the Calgary Flames have brought their wives on the trip and the practices. And they haven't been great, Tom. They've been yelling at each other. There's been some select words dropped out there on the ice, and I'm looking for the Ducks to come out nice and strong and take advantage of a Calgary Flames team that maybe isn't having the best road trip right now. So I'm going to look here at a couple of players I had circled, and I ended up on Ryan Strome here. Ryan Strome higher than 0.5 point. He's been phenomenally strong out there on the ice, and we're looking at him 7 goals and 16 assists on the season. 2 assists he was able to put up on Tampa, and then in the last games prior, those 4 games, he was able to record a point in each of those. I think he comes out nice and strong. He is on that top line. He centers the top line with Troy Terry out there, and we know Troy Terry is good for that anytime goal. So I'm expecting the assist. I will take Ryan Strome higher than 0.5 point in this matchup, Tom.
Yeah, and if with Frank Vatrano getting that recent contract extension, you know they're going to be pushing that offense. So if they have some time on the power play, that could certainly come through as well.
Okay, you guys, make sure you join us back here tomorrow for another Sports Millions Picks.
Appreciate it again, Joe Madden there and Tom Vecchio giving us some ice options for Sports Millions Pick'em. And one guy who we are seeing for the first time in a long time on the board is Zion Williamson, making his return to the court for the first time since early November. Zion has only played 6 games this season, which is unfortunately par for the course for Zion. Now, with Zion getting out there, you wonder, is there a minutes restriction? Zion has had those before. It's not necessarily always stopped him from performing really well. I mean, you can go back to his rookie season where he averaged 22.5 points per game in under 28 minutes a night. So if you get 24 minutes, perhaps Zion is able to go higher than 16.5 points. There is a good chance Zion does go higher than a really interesting market that you can find here on Sports Millions Pick'em, 2.5 turnovers. In 5 of the 6 games he's played this season, Zion has gone higher than that number. He's had more ball handling responsibilities in New Orleans over the last 2 years or so. And if that's going to continue, plus some rust, could be a really nice option. I do wonder if Zion, from now until about a month from now, right, early February, is he auditioning? And will New Orleans look to make a blockbuster deal that sends out Zion Williamson or Brandon Ingram or C.J. McCollum or all 3? It's very, very possible. And if Zion feels as if he is auditioning, does he play even a little bit better? It feels like he's wanted out of New Orleans, kind of since he's got there from the beginning. Something to keep an eye on. Again, higher than 2.5 turnovers. Not a bad option on Zion tonight back out there for New Orleans. We'll be joined on Game Time Decisions by Coach James Young next. Be right here.
like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhart and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
50 points in a fourth quarter for the Atlanta Hawks. Like, what is going on? It's like circus numbers. What are we doing?
And we sound like two old heads complaining. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch sometimes. I don't mind the shooting. I just know the numbers. Like, when you strictly look at it from the numbers in betting, it's getting really hard to bet.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Louis Riddick has interviewed for every job in North America. And I'm not just talking football. I'm talking about every business in North America of any kind whatsoever. Tire companies, grocery store CEOs, shopping malls, insurance companies. What job hasn't Louis Riddick interviewed for?
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The NBA will take center stage once football stops, and people will watch the NBA playoffs and all that. But the standings are whacked out in the Western Conference. Like Oklahoma City, Memphis, and the Houston Rockets are the best teams in the conference.
You want to talk about a team with overs and no defense? The Wizards are your team. It's unbelievable. They can't make a total high enough. It's nuts.
Sports Rage tonight. Weeknights 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Live with you right here on SportsGrid. It is game time decisions. Kevin Walsh with you on this Tuesday night, and it wouldn't be right if we didn't have Coach James Young with us here. JY, a loaded night of basketball.
You know what it is, Kevin? It's the first Tuesday in January. That means my Jets are completely irrelevant, and it's time to talk basketball. I'm ready. I'm like Lance Stevenson. I'm born ready.
So then let's get right into it, Coach. I think we should start on the college board. I think it's where a lot of bettors are going to be tonight, and I think they're going to be excited to get involved with Florida, Tennessee. The Gators just lost to Kentucky. Their next game, it's against Tennessee. Gives you an idea of what that SEC schedule is going to look like on most nights. But Florida's a favorite. An unbeaten number one Vols group catching points. How do you try and find some value in this game?
I just think the game's going to be an overplay. Kevin, if you look at the offenses here, in a way that Florida just lost, I think it was 106-100 to Kentucky. They can get up and down the floor. Also, maybe look at Walter Clayton Jr. I think it's 17.5 is his points prop. I think this game gets up and down. I think it's a tight game. You know my belief of tight games, fouls late, more possessions. Give me the over in a game type between Florida and Tennessee.
And curious for you, JY, when you look at these teams big picture right now, do you feel as if, with whether it be a future or just kind of tracking the movement there, do either of these teams really pop off the page for you?
No, because I'm worried about the defense of Florida long term. You get to a tournament, right, Kevin? And my concern with Rick Barnes is it's Rick Barnes, right? So as many teams as he had as talented, and you can see this is one of the most talented teams he's ever had, I get concerned with them in the tournament. So if you're asking me, like in the SEC, I'm looking at, obviously in Alabama over them. I think Auburn is the best team in the country. I know they lost, but they lost at Duke at a tight contest. So there are other teams that I like more than I like either one of these teams. One, because of their lack of defense at times, and the other one for a coach that just honestly hasn't really done it in a big spot.
Yeah, I'm curious to see kind of how these teams handle this conference, JY, because, listen, we've seen conferences have overwhelming depth before. The Big 12 last year, right, was viewed in this way. The Big Ten a few years ago. I think the difference, at least it feels like for the SEC, is what they did out of conference has kind of made it unquestionable, right? Auburn running through teams out in Maui, the results of the SEC-ACC Challenge, which were overwhelming, and the list really does go on. We take that right into Georgia, Kentucky, where a 12-2 Kentucky team runs into a 12-2 unranked Georgia team and just a 1.5-point favorite for the Wildcats.
Kevin, I think you're one of the guys that talked to me about this when I first got into this industry. It is home dogs, unranked, slight underdogs versus a road ranked favorite. And this line I thought earlier today was 2.5. It's moved to 1.5 because I think more money's coming in on Georgia. And I just think Kentucky, after that game, right, that 106-100 win over Florida, I'm not saying they're due for a letdown, but the turnaround and comeback versus a Georgia team, well, let's be honest, Kevin, at 12-2, they could be the surprise team in the league. And think about this. Yes, they have a loss to Marquette, but they also have a win against St. John's, right? They lost their last game by 12 to Ole Miss. Now they go home. I like Georgia plus the 1.5. I actually think they win outright.
All right, so some love for Georgia. I'll tell you, for me, Coach, very interested in, and I'm going to be on Asa Newell tonight over his points plus rebounds. The freshman has been great for the Dogs. I think this has the potential to be maybe a little of a breakout spot, a little extra eyes on him in this game against Kentucky. There's a lot of conversation around this upcoming draft class, and not that Newell's going to break into that top 5, but you're looking at somebody who certainly is early projecting as a lottery pick, someone projecting to be the first pick. That is, of course, Cooper Flagg. Duke tonight against Pitt, Coach, laying 14.5 points. What are you looking for in this game?
Well, Duke has been really good, and I think, honestly, Kev, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Pitt go to Duke last year and beat Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium? If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a very close contest. There was some stuff yelled at towards Capel. I like Duke here. I think Duke is the class of the ACC. And obviously, I know John Shire, I think he missed the last game, but they've been, ever since their last loss, Kevin, they have been rolling teams. I mean, I'm not talking about beating them. Besides only, beat Auburn by 6 and then, Louisville by 11, they're beating everybody else by 20-plus points. Yeah. I don't think this is any different. Give me Duke minus the points at home tonight.
And tell me, Coach, what have you seen from Cooper Flagg so far this season? At the moment, leads Duke in points, rebounds, assists, blocks. He's been doing it all for this team.
I think it's to me, Kev, it's the complete package, right? Now, listen, I know he's not shooting it great from deep, but he's shooting it 45% from the floor. The thing that I get most impressed with, Kevin, I'll be honest with you, with Cooper Flagg, is his defensive intensity. When you get these guys in as freshmen, particularly these big recruits, it doesn't matter if it's a big recruit like at a Duke or for me at a Monmouth. It's the defensive end of the floor that you want to worry about. Can they get stops? Can they defend? Can they block shots? Is there rotations tight? I've seen all of that out of Cooper Flagg. So to me, as much as I'm impressed with his offensive game, Kevin, and he's been playing better as of late, I think the defensive tenacity is a part that, as a coach, really has my attention.
He's anchoring a top 5 defense in college as a freshman. That is rare. I've said this, and I don't say it lightly, especially because of Anthony Davis bringing a championship to Kentucky. He's the best defensive prospect since Anthony Davis. Seen how that's worked out. I'm not telling you that Cooper Flagg is going to be AD. That's not a one-to-one comparison, but it gives you an idea just how talented Cooper Flagg is. I also think, sometimes, JY, people get caught up in the shooting of it all, where it's easier to see that. When you have a defensive prospect, it becomes, with Wemby, it was easy because he's 7'5", right? And the whole thing's preposterous. With Flagg, it's not as obvious off of when you're reading it off kind of the box score, but it's obvious when you turn the game on. At 7 o'clock.
Kevin, really quick, with Cooper, I think the thing that makes him impressive is as a coach is the ability to guard multiple positions, right? Meaning you can guard this kid 1 through, he can guard 1 through 4. And if it's a big burly center, Kevin, he can guard 1 through 5. So now when you run, if he's at the stretch 4 and you run ball screen action and you get a switch, you can put him on a point guard. You can say, no, if that's Walter Clayton Jr. at the top of the key, get in the stance. Well, he's going to get in the stance. He's going to defend you. So I think that's the thing that makes it interesting is the switchability of him defensively, which makes it very intriguing because you get a lot of that in the NBA if you could switch like a OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Herb Jones, a guy that can guard 1 through 4. That's what makes really Cooper Flag intriguing as a defensive prospect.
Yeah, I'll look. So he probably won't grow enough to fully meet the comp. This is going to sound nuts to people. I don't care. But when I was watching him in high school, I thought of Giannis. That's where my mind went. That's lofty. Very You're talking about probably one of the 30 or so best players the league's seen in Giannis Antetokounmpo. But look, just you're talking comps. Cooper Flag is a special one. Let me bring this up. Coach is going to stick around. But at 7 o'clock, the one game I didn't get to, it's West Virginia and Arizona. Look, West Virginia ranked home dog. I get it. I like the Arizona offense in that game. 72.5 for a team total. You look at the game that they played, Arizona against Cincinnati. That's a better defense. They scored 72 against. Ultimately, without Caleb Love playing well, he plays better tonight. We'll be back. It's Game Time Decision.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
We're back with you right here on Game Time Decisions. We are with Coach James Young, buttoning up the college basketball card. JY, you're on the Marquette-Georgetown game. How are you playing that one?
Listen, I want to say this, and I'm not the biggest Ed Cooley fan. Everybody knows I don't like what he did to Providence, but he's done a good job so far this year at at Georgetown. But I do like Marquette minus the points here. I watched what they did to go to Providence and go to the dunk and do what they did to Kim English. I was like, whoa, this team could be the best team in the Big East. I know it's a big number at 13.5. Give me Marquette minus a point. And then the other one, just really quick, Kevin and I were talking about it during the break. Auburn at Texas. You look at Texas's record, and you're like, whoa, 11-3. Like, oh my God, like this could be a game here, folks. Where's the quality win? Where is it? I mean, their best win, Kevin, is what? St. Joe's? Syracuse? I mean, the last time they played a ranked team, they played over the weekend. They lost by 20 at Texas A&M. Auburn's the best team in the country. I think Bruce Pearl's team absolutely rolls them tonight in Austin.
Yeah, Texas's strength of schedule is impossibly bad. To give people an idea, it is 354th. The only other team to have a strength of schedule 342 or lower and be inside the top 55 is Missouri on KenPom. Texas has played mostly no one. Anyone they've beaten has not been very good. I am still on Trey Johnson in that game, though, over 16.5 points. I'll quickly reset it, and then we're going to do NBA with Coach. My college hoops card tonight. Tennessee at +4. You can still get +3. Asa Newell over 20.5 points plus rebounds at -115. Give me Duke Pittsburgh over at 143.5. Arizona's team total through 72.5 points in their game with West Virginia. We mentioned the Trey Johnson 16.5 over against Auburn. Then that Michigan team total tonight against UCLA in a Big Ten battle over at 69.5. Coach, on the NBA board tonight, Lakers Mavericks is usually a great game. Luka versus LeBron, Kyrie versus LeBron, AD in the mix, Clay, whatever it might be. No Luka, no Kyrie, 5-game losing streak, second leg of a back-to-back. Lakers are a 6.5-point road favorite.
Yeah, and there's listen, I know they lost a tight game at Houston, but they won the previous 2 games before that. To me, when I look at this game, it's just a team total under 106.5. I do believe it still is for the Dallas Mavericks. Kevin, without Luka, without Kyrie, who is their shot creator? Like, I mean, what are you going to say? What are you going to tell me? Quentin Grimes? Like Spencer Dinwiddie? You know, they don't have a guy that can create off the bounce. So I'm looking at a couple of things here. I like the team total under 106.5. I like Dorian Finney-Smith to go over 6.5 points. He's starting to get his groove. They're going to try getting him more opportunities, particularly in fact, Kevin, they shoots the ball over 40% from the three-point line. That is enticing. You need guys to stretch the floor for LeBron and AD. So give me under 106.5 for Dallas, and give me Dorian Finney-Smith over 6.5 points tonight.
A big update around the NBA tonight. Nuggets Celtics, you'll notice that spread is ballooned -8.5. Nikola Jokic added to the injury report a little while ago at probable. He has since been downgraded to questionable with a non-COVID illness. Obviously, if Nikola Jokic misses a game against the Boston Celtics, where the Celtics are coming off of a loss, Coach, the number's going to be big. It's 8.5 right now.
Duck. If he ain't playing tonight, Kevin, duck. And this Boston team that's coming off, think about this. They were playing really well at OKC. Same thing that happened to the Knicks on Friday night. And they get outscored 29-12 in the fourth quarter. So simply put, the way this guy is wired, the way Joe Mazzulla is, honestly, folks, you can just take the Celtics minus 1.5, 2.5 in the first quarter and just say that they're going to come out in a bad mood, especially with no Joker. Maybe the plays, if you don't want to stick your money in the whole game, you're worried about a backdoor cover, just think Boston jumps out to a big lead. Give me the Celtics minus 2.5 on FanDuel, 1.5 on DraftKings in the first quarter.
So far this season, Denver's played 3 without Nikola Jokic. They have lost 2. They have won one of those games. The 2 losses, they scored 94 and 90 points in. Cautious on what is a very big-time total right now at 233.5. But do keep in mind that number was 237.5, so it is already a dropping number in this game. NBA-wise, Coach, where else are you looking to put some action here on this Tuesday night?
Let's head to since it's tipping off at 7 o'clock to Phoenix, Charlotte. Two plays I'm looking at. Ryan Dunn over 1.5 made threes over the last 2. Same situation I think about with Dorian Finney-Smith. Ryan Dunn is a stretch forward. They can shoot the ball. I think he go ahead and knocks down 2 threes. They need to stretch the floor, particularly with D-Book and Durant. Otherwise, Brandon Miller over 18.5 points. Boy's been hot at the fish crease over 13 of the last 15 games. Been scoring at a reckless clip. Give me Brandon Miller over 18.5 points. Because we got my guy, Sammy Yarnell, I'm going to his favorite Washington Wizard, Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole over points prop tonight at 20.5, 7 straight games. Those are my props that I like in the game. Timberwolves minus the points. You mentioned Zion with the turnovers. I think they still got to work him back into this. The Timberwolves are in a bad way. I think it was 5.5, dropped to 4.5. Give me the Timberwolves minus the points tonight.
All right, some love there for Minnesota against New Orleans. Zion making the return in that game. I will say for Zion, it's not I don't hate if you take him for 25 plus, which was a tick under 5-1 at last look. Zion knows how to score without playing a ton of minutes. We have not yet been able to get word, though, on just how many minutes he will be playing within that basketball game. If it's 15 minutes, I don't want that bet. I don't want any bets. If it's 25 minutes, that might be enough, right? So these are the kind of things that we're trying to figure out. Coach also mentioned the Phoenix Suns. Bradley Beal. Could we see a move involving Phoenix and Miami playing later tonight at some point in time? We'll get Coach's thoughts on what that could mean for the market next.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're with you right here on Game Time Decisions. Kevin Walsh joined by Coach James Young. We're going to be joined by Mike Blewett very shortly here. Talk some stuff around the NFL, the postseason picture, certainly. But some things that could shake up the NBA market are tied to, I think, the Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal. And, Coach, I want to start on the Miami side. I'm sure you've talked plenty on the BATR podcast. You can see it here on SportsGrid, of course, over on our YouTube channels as well. Is there a landing spot for Jimmy Butler that makes sense to you?
I mean, it would be, honestly, would be with Phoenix. I mean, if that's the way they want to play it. I mean, I also think Memphis is intriguing, but he doesn't want to go there. He basically said, I think today, both Memphis and Milwaukee were told don't trade for him. Here's the thing, folks. There's two ways to look at this on who controls this whole narrative, right? Number one, we all know what this is about. Folks, if you don't realize it, this is solely about money. Jimmy Butler wanted to get extended at the summer. Ryle said, no, you got to play in games. So now Jimmy is stuck. So now what Jimmy has done is now saying he wants to control where he goes because he's not going to sign a long-term extension with any team he goes to, except for a couple. I think the Lakers are included in that, along with Phoenix. Here's the funny thing, Kevin. The only team I think that can have the maximum amount of money to sign him in the offseason is Brooklyn, and he ain't going there. So as much as I think Jimmy Butler think he controls the narrative, I actually think it's Pat Riley that controls what can happen with this. But Phoenix is the best spot for him and his situation.
I think that you're right in that Pat has controlled a lot, which has gotten us here. But I think the results that Miami is putting forward tonight, almost 10-point underdog to Golden State, is going to force the issue a little bit more. I think everybody's now looking for a resolution, right? And they're going to try to find one. JY, the question then becomes, will Bradley Beal waive the no-trade clause? One. And then two, if Miami is dead set on not bringing in Beal, which it seems like they are, is there a landing spot for Beal that makes any sense to you potentially around the association?
I don't, to me, maybe, honestly, it sounds crazy. Maybe a place like Milwaukee. Because if you're not going to depend on Chris Middleton, who's often injured, can you get him to somewhere like that? The other question is does he want to come off the bench? I think that's something that, I think Phoenix did that as a way to get him to waive his no trade clause to get him out of there. So there's the talk of, can he go somewhere and come off the bench? Listen, if Bradley Beal comes off the bench, he instantly becomes one of the best six men in the NBA. So could he move off the bench? What about a place like Sacramento? Can you keep Monk off the bench as a six man? So I think there's places for him. It just matters of how the money's going to match up, because that is a really, really bad contract, especially with the full no trade clause.
Yeah, I think for Beal, look, money-wise, obviously is going to complicate a ton of things. Is there a world, a team like the Orlando Magic say, hey, listen, we need a little more offense in the building? Maybe, right? My thing is Beal going to want out of Phoenix at some point? Moved him to the bench, game number one, went great. Scored 25 points, got to shoot it plenty off the bench, still played 30-plus minutes. Is Beal on the bench because they're trying to push him out, or because they think it works better for the roster? Things are secretly awful in Phoenix, and they are eventually going to end up trading a superstar to Houston, if you'd like a prediction of how that's all going to play out. JY, curious for you, we talk about Denver tonight in their game against Boston. Do you think that team could make a big swing? Whether that's Jimmy Butler, maybe a Zach LaVine, or something to try and shake up that roster with Nikola Jokic still being as good as ever?
Yeah, because I think the window is closing, and I it's crazy like how much they miss a KCP, right? Especially his ability to shoot the ball from three. So I think a Zach LaVine makes sense as a scorer, because there's too much on the Joker's plate. They need someone else that can create shots with Joker, or that could become that primary scorer when obviously the Joker's out of the game, because I don't think Jamal Murray's it. Michael Porter Jr. is inconsistent. Aaron Gordon's been hurt all in and out of the lineup all year. They have no bench. So to me, that would be an interesting play, is maybe Zach LaVine going somewhere like Denver.
Yeah, I think that Porter Jr. Is the kind of piece that Miami would probably be excited by. I know they've mentioned being interested in Jonathan Kuminga. Coach James Young, JY, appreciate it. As always, I'm sure we'll be doing it again soon.
Let's do it.
All right, great stuff there from Coach. We've got Mike Blewett right around the corner, as well as the start of a great college basketball night. Don't go anywhere.
there is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome in, Game Time Decisions, live on SportsGrid. Again, your 7 o'clock college slate getting underway. Tennessee +4. Duke Pittsburgh over 143.5. Arizona team total over 72.5. Asa Newell over 20.5 points plus rebounds. Just in case you can click late. We're in the mix, man. We're in the mix. Should be a really, really fun night of college basketball here. And we are going to be tracking it all, certainly. But with the board largely set up for you, you can't lose focus, of course, with the NFL postseason around the corner, as well as some NFL news that is going to shake up some of this offseason. To help us get into all of it, of course, Mike Blewett does an excellent job with primetime coverage here on the Sunday slate, that 4 o'clock window of in-game live and a few other things across the network. Mike, always great to have you.
Happy to be here. Obviously, we're excited for the NFL playoffs and everything that came with the end of the regular season, which I know we're going to discuss a lot of moving parts and front offices and elsewhere.
I want to start, Mike, with the big breaking news that is the most recent in Vegas. They fired Antonio Pierce. A very conservative approach that I saw at times had me, if I were in charge, ready to fire him in-game. I didn't know what they were going to do because it seemed like something that would have been done immediately. It wasn't done immediately, but it is done. Antonio Pierce is out in Vegas. What do you think that means for their offseason?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the Raiders, since they made the Super Bowl in 2002, have had one of the worst runs in the entire league. So they've had multiple coaches that have failed and gone through that system. It doesn't matter whether it's in Oakland or now Las Vegas. They have had a really rough stretch and not really had any modicum of success in the playoffs. What we have seen recently is extreme turnovers. So they went from John Gruden, who obviously was fired for illicit emails, offensive emails, and other transgressions, going right into a full overhaul with Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, and now the Rich Bisaccia situation into Antonio Pierce. It feels like they felt pressure to keep Antonio Pierce as an interim because they didn't keep Rich Bisaccia last time. This doesn't work out, and unfortunately for whomever gets hired, they are walking into the biggest coaching gauntlet in the entire league with Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid, and Sean Payton staring you down 6 games a season. Tom Telesco is their new GM, formerly 10 years with the Chargers, both in San Diego and LA. He hired 3 head coaches. Those head coaches are Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, and Brandon Staley. I would not expect either of those 3 guys to be the new Raiders coach. So, with a roster that doesn't have a franchise quarterback and a GM who will be doing his 4th head coaching hire, 3 of which previously did not net any positive results, and by the way, no playoff wins. I think 1 playoff win, in his 10 years there. So there's a lot to build on, and I just am curious the type of coach they can get there. You'd want a big name to compete with the other big names, but it's an uphill battle for sure.
Well, the interesting thing, Mike, and maybe lost in all of it for some, but from Tom Brady's influence. Yeah. And I think Tom, when he was becoming a partial owner within Vegas, I initially thought it was just kind of a thing that guys who have a lot of money do, right?
Yeah.
LeBron's got a piece of Liverpool. He's not deciding whether Mo Salah stays or goes.
Right.
But Brady, with his NFL background, seemingly is going to have as much say as anybody, maybe more. It's got some pointing towards Mike Vrabel. I think what's very interesting is for Brady, his network does not span far if you talk about guys he played for. The list is 3 NFL coaches long, right? Bill Belichick, Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles. One of those guys is coaching in college, maybe not a great relationship anymore. One of those guys is, I think, somewhere in the front office in Tampa Bay. Also don't think a great relationship with Bruce Arians. And Bowles is the coach of Tampa Bay, and I also don't know if he'd go to the bat for Todd Bowles. I don't know who Tom Brady would go to bat for. Maybe he would just want to be swayed during those in-person interviews. But again, it has some wondering, is Mike Vrabel up next? That's a part of the puzzle. But the other puzzle, or part of this puzzle, is that we know Brady's going to have a huge say in whatever they do at the quarterback position in Las Vegas.
Of course. And what is pretty interesting about it is the 2 names that you mentioned in Vrabel and Belichick, and Brady having direct connections to both of them. It feels like it's the worst kept secret in the league that Vrabel will become New England's next head coach. But what if Vrabel got the type of personnel oversight, or at least personnel alignment, that he sought in Tennessee, which Tennessee didn't fire Mike Vrabel because of poor performance. He was fired because they couldn't really, it was an untenable situation of personalities between Ram Carthon, who was actually fired today, Amy Adams-Strunk, and Mike Vrabel. Now he could find himself in Vegas. Could he get along with Tom Telesco? Is Brady's influence great enough? He's the one, Vrabel, who praised Bob Kraft in New England for being the best organization in the league, openly on a microphone at a ceremony. So I think he does probably feel that way. And I don't think you would fire Gerard Mayo after 1 season just because you didn't really like the way things went. You have to have a plan in place. At least somebody like Bob Kraft, you would presume, would have some sort of a plan in place.
Yeah, my initial thought was actually it was going to be Ben Johnson. I certainly see the Vrabel angle of it all. Yeah. I am curious how much Kraft would like to be done of the Patriot way, reshape it, because everyone knows what the Patriot way means. It means Bill Belichick.
Yep.
Like, everyone knows that. Mike, you'll remember this. Remember when Chip Kelly took over the Eagles, did everything his way, and then was fired, and how he got back in control? And no matter what, anybody that was tied to Chip Kelly, they got rid of. That a little bit felt to me what was going on with Gerard Mayo. To me, at least a little bit. To where I wonder if even Vrabel is too close to it, where Ben Johnson, you're like, he's commanding a lot of money. Well, I don't think Kraft will bat an eye at paying Ben Johnson whatever the number will be. And I think for Ben Johnson, a lot of people in NFL circles, Mike, believe in Drake May. Falling from 1 to 4, maybe not as disastrous for New England as it would be for a team in a different situation.
No, I do think this year that the tanking for teams has gotten out of control. I really do think that discussion amongst NFL fans is out of control. I understand that you want the number one pick so you could exact the most control over the draft. But for New England, the only thing you could complain about is that they're going to miss out on Travis Hunter. The Giants could say the same thing. The Giants could still get Travis Hunter, but they don't control the ability to get Travis Hunter because of the two picks that will be in front of them. And those teams may or may not be looking at quarterbacks as well, or maybe trading out. You don't know. They need a lot of help to Tennessee and Cleveland. The one thing I would say about Vrabel and the Patriot way, Kev, to go back to that very briefly, Mike Vrabel has been very pointed in appreciating Bill Belichick, but not kissing the ring in the way that you might expect some to do, distancing himself somewhat from the Belichick coaching tree, which he technically is not a part of. He played for him, but he didn't coach for him.
Well, there's an aspect of Travis Hunter, and this will all impact draft odds. We'll talk about that and some few other items with Mike Blewett next here. It's Game Time Decisions.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln! But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
Right here, it is Game Time Decisions. We've got the college basketball board underway right now. Great start for Florida. Tennessee still looking for their first points of that basketball game right now. A 9-0 lead for the Gators. It's opened them up to minus 460 moneyline favorites, which is probably a touch strong, but again, certainly an imposing start from them. We're here with Mike. We're talking certainly everything around the NFL, but to keep it somewhat at the college level, the NFL draft today certainly saw major news come out of Tennessee. The general manager, Carthon, moved on from, and the Titans hold that first pick. At the moment, Cam Ward has the odds to go first. That's minus 125 on FanDuel. Shedeur Sanders is at plus 105. You'll then see a 10-1 number on Travis Hunter and 48-1 McCall Williams. Calvin Banks is 50-1 along with Will Campbell and Mason Graham. Okay. Here's my thing on Travis Hunter, Mike. You know, Travis Hunter's why Travis Hunter is who he is because he can play both sides of the football. A lot of people, though, around the NFL have spent time debating, can he do it, saying no, and then saying he should play defense, and you should stick to playing corner. But Travis has said he doesn't want to do that, and I believe Dion has said, don't draft him if you're not going to let him be him. And I believe Dion. I have no reason not to believe Dion. You know, I think this could relate to Shedeur as well, you know, if they want to be in a certain situation, like Vegas with Tom Brady. But it's very interesting to me, Mike. A team like the Titans or the Browns or whomever, if they say, Travis, we think you're going to be the best corner in football, and he goes, cool, I think that as well. I ain't showing up if you don't also think I can be the best wide receiver in football.
Yeah, it is. And I've had the same debate, right? Should he just focus on one and try to take the title away from Pat Surtain or whomever else you think might be the best corner in the league? Should he just try to focus on that? Is he impactful enough? He's not huge, right? But is he impactful enough at the wide receiver? Will he be impactful enough as a wide receiver at the next level in the way that Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and others are?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a fair question to ask. Nobody's questioning that he's the best athlete coming into the draft or that he was the best player in college football. Certainly the most impressive and eye-popping athlete we've seen in some time in college football. The amount of plays are really incredible. Just the snap count alone is incredible, although some people try to use that as a negative. Now, I'm with you. I believe Dion. Just let him be him. Now, you have to talk some sense into people and say, he's not going to go out there and play 130 plays every NFL weekend. Nobody would last. There's a reason that people don't do it. Dion didn't do it. Bo Jackson didn't do it. Nobody did it. I'm talking about the greatest athletes in the history of the league. And that's not because of, yes, was there archaic thinking that prevented it? Of course. But there's also a reason that guys don't hold up. It's a brutal league, and he won't hold up if somebody allows him to just be him for 130 plays. It's not to say you can't have a package on offense or multiple packages on offense, but to play a full game at corner and a full game at wide receiver in the NFL, it would be seemingly impossible. I guess what Ohtani's doing is impossible, but it's a different sport altogether.
Yeah, ultimately, I think, Mike, though, again, and maybe the 100% both sides, but he has earned the chance to get about as close to it as whatever is possible. I believe that. And again, I think more important for us when we're breaking down draft odds, right? They hang that draft position over under 3.5 for Travis. I don't know what happens if a team goes, you're playing corner. I truly don't think he's showing up then, and it becomes very interesting. Let's start to get into some of the stuff around the postseason. And Mike, look, I did something a few weeks, I think maybe the last time you were on. It was unintentional, but you brought it up to me at our holiday party, so I guess it resonated with you, and I did mean it, around the Pittsburgh Steelers, where they beat the Ravens. The follow-up was a loss to Cleveland. I went, same old Steelers. Not a real contender, nothing to think about here. And I wasn't trying to be rude or even make a joke. That is how I viewed Pittsburgh. And since that, I think now everybody is like, oh, great, same old Pittsburgh. We show up into the wild card round, get knocked around by a real contender, and go home, but at least Tomlin was over 500. I'm curious what your temperature is on that football team heading into the game against Baltimore.
I mean, the offense is just broken all over again. After the Cincinnati game, where they win that game 44-38, the first Cincinnati game, 44-38, they're a 10-3 team. You know they're going into a really brutal stretch, but they failed that test, losing all 3 games in 11 days and then following up with a final loss in Cincinnati. I think the offense is really bad. You can blame Arthur Smith. You can blame the offensive line. You can blame George Pickens. You can blame a lot of different people. The reality is their short yardage and red zone stuff has been bad all year and continues to really be a problem. They handed Cincinnati a field goal at the end of the first half, a game in which they lost by 2. And then, Kev, as bad as they played, they actually had a chance to win against Cincinnati. If they just connect on one play at the end of the game, Chris Boswell probably hits a walk-off field goal to win it. The other 3 games against Philly, Baltimore, and Kansas City, they actually entered the fourth quarter as one-score games. They were quickly put away in those fourth quarters, but it's their inability to keep the offense moving down the field that shouldn't threaten anyone. I think this Baltimore game probably looks very similar to the one they just played. Maybe they can get a couple of more stops and keep it close in the fourth, but their inability to score and convert on is a problem.
And I really do think if they hang to some degree, I will chalk it up to that's the rivalry. If they win, different conversation. If they get rolled again, I think there are some interesting conversations to be had in Pittsburgh. We'll talk more about the wild card round with Mike next.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all people.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with Mike Blewett here, taking a look at some of the options that you've got out there for the wild card round. Let me ask you, Mike, were there any lines outside of Baltimore, Pittsburgh that really caught your attention, whether it looked like some good value or just a surprising number on the board?
I don't think so, but the way that Green Bay has closed out this season is a concern for me. Obviously, we have a question mark surrounding Jalen Hurts, and he's still in the concussion protocol, but once Jalen Hurts gets cleared, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bump towards Philly. So I'll catch a little value there. I expect Philly to win. It may not be pretty. They don't have to do it with style points, but I like them to beat the Packers, who are a dangerous team that I picked to go to the Super Bowl, but they're not playing like a dangerous team right now. Too sloppy for the Packers.
Yeah, for somebody, again, preseason, thought the Eagles had the best number on the board to win the Super Bowl. In season, I felt that they're the best team in football. Haven't seen Hurts play in a while. There's I have an awful feeling that is probably tied to Carson Wentz scars, that Hurts might not play in this game or something will happen in game. And I also think highly of Green Bay. I think highly of LaFleur. I think Love at his best can play as good as any quarterback in football. I think it's a tough matchup for Philly that if they get through, my confidence in them will multiply by quite a lot. What do you make of the Sunday nighter, Mike, with Tampa Bay against Washington? I was almost pleasantly surprised to see Tampa garner the respect that they did against Washington. I didn't think that would happen for the NFC South champion, and I wonder if it is at all a more damning number against Washington. I don't know how you read into it.
I don't read into it that way. I mean, it's a home playoff game. They're laying 3. I think that tells you the sports books want to put it out there for the market to set that number. It's still holding at 3 for now, but I think that makes sense to me. Tampa's got a very dangerous offense. They have had issues defensively at times, particularly covering. So Terry McLaurin, this could be a really interesting game for him. Obviously, these teams played at the very beginning of the year, week 1, and Tampa smashed them. But it was the first game for a rookie QB. I think Jaden Daniels is allowed to have a game like that before he really got on a roll. So for me, I'd have a hard time betting against Tampa at home, but it's certainly, to me, the most fun game of the entire weekend, because it wouldn't surprise me that Jaden Daniels comes in there and rips it up. I've been a little concerned at the lack of consistency from both teams, particularly from Washington, but they did get big wins, Kev. They ended up with double-digit wins in a season that I don't think people had those expectations. If they can keep Tampa off the field a little bit, which I think is going to be really important, then I think we're talking about a Washington win. But I don't know that Washington has been experts at playing ground control or ball control passing game. I think this has the possibility of being a fun over to bet on.
Yeah, it's the highest total that we have by some margin, really, right, of the weekend. I will say what has gone so well for Washington, and the reason Jaden Daniels ended up running away with Offensive Rookie of the Year is if they are trailing in the fourth quarter, but it is close, the confidence they have in Daniels. If you look at Daniels' numbers just side by side, no context assigned from them, with Bo Nix, it's a race. If you look at Brock Bowers, who's going to end up maybe first team All-Pro at his position, it's a race. But Daniels had countless moments. The Hail Mary, obviously, the comeback against Philly, the Sunday nighter in overtime to clinch the postseason spot. The question becomes, can he get another moment on the mantle? Mike, a lot of fun, as always, and it's going to be a really fun weekend to follow.
Can't wait. It's going to be a lot of games coming up. We'll be covering Bills-Broncos live, myself and Joe Rainieri, on Sunday afternoon.
And yes, like I said, Mike is from 1 to 4, right? I think it's exactly how I set that up. So, yes, Mike with Bills-Broncos, which is a really interesting game. Josh Allen looking to start a more important march than the MVP march that he just went through. It should be a very fun game. We're going to be right back with you here. It's Game Time Decision.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here. It is Game Time Decisions, and we are joined by Joe Madden here on this Tuesday night. Joe, great as always to talk to you.
Yeah, definitely great to talk to you as well. Happy New Year's to you. I haven't talked to you since the new year, and I just want to let everyone know, if you're betting this Edmonton Oilers-Boston Bruins game, hold on a second before jumping in on anything, because if you're not seeing it live, something's happened with Stuart Skinner out here. So, Kevin, definitely stay off if you like the Edmonton Oilers right now until we find out what's happening with Skinner.
All right, great update there from Joe around that game. Edmonton currently holding a 1-0 lead. Also just kind of jumps off the page when you see it. Joe, the Rangers actually playing some good hockey early on, up 3-1 against Dallas.
Yeah, pretty surprising here that the Rangers have been able to take this lead. Now, this is early in the first period. I expected Dallas to stay under the 3.5 goals that they were getting. That was coming in at -118. Jonathan Quick has been so strong versus the Dallas Stars. So we're seeing him strong in net. And, you know, the Rangers are just hitting tonight, Jake Ottinger. So I would stay off this one as well if you don't have a play in it. You're not going to get much value. I wouldn't trust the Rangers here to cover that 1.5 on the puck line. We know the struggles this team has had, but this is coming down to Jonathan Quick at the moment. If anything, I'd take the under 9.5. But Kevin, the books aren't giving you a break on that. It's -168 to the under. So just not a good spot to jump in right now.
All right, certainly something, though, that we can keep our eyes on. And, of course, I'm sure the in-game live crew as well. We still have plenty of action, though, coming up on the ice, Joe. And I know you're going to be taking a look at the game between Minnesota and St. Louis here. The Blues, a slight road underdog. What value do you see in this game?
I see value all over St. Louis. I do think with all the injuries the Minnesota Wild are going through right now, Kevin, the St. Louis Blues have the ability to roll into Minnesota and get the win. And yes, I know Binnington has been inconsistent in goal, but I'm looking for him to really step up in this one. Gustafsson is on the other side for the Minnesota Wild, and he is the stronger goaltender between the two of them. But I'm looking here at the Blues with how they've been playing with their current form. This team is clicking offensively and defensively. And I think as long as Binnington comes to play tonight, we absolutely have a game where the St. Louis Blues can pull off the win. Now, Minnesota's already won this season. They got that 4-2 win. It was tighter than that number, though, and I do think in this one, this game has every opportunity of going to overtime with St. Louis getting that win in overtime. So I would be looking there. I expect more goals in this one. And I'm just looking here at Robert Thomas and Matt Boldy for those goals on either side. But St. Louis at the end of the day, Kevin.
All right, so some love there for St. Louis. How about Winnipeg and Nashville? Certainly a mismatch when you look at their records. The line, though, not overwhelming in Winnipeg's favor. How do you feel about this game?
Yeah, not overwhelming, because you look at this team, they've lost their last 3. After losing 2, I said, well, Winnipeg can't lose 3 in a row, and they proved me wrong. They definitely can lose 3 in a row, but can they lose 4 in a row? Here to the Nashville Predators. Predators team that really has struggled out there on the road. This is their last game on the road, too, of 6 games. So this is not a good spot to jump in on Nashville, but I do think they'll hit Connor Hellebuck, because what we've seen out of Winnipeg just hasn't been stepping up as of late. The Nashville Predators are a strong team in that first period. So I think when we look here at the first period, Winnipeg sometimes has got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they're going to be hungry to get this win on home ice. So I'm going to look at that first period. I think you look at the over 1.5, it's coming in at -118. And then you look at both teams to score in that first period, where I really love it. It's coming in at +182. You're getting so much value. And I do think between the goaltending here of Saros and Hellebuck, we're going to see both of these offenses really have the advantage in that first period and get up on the board. The last time these teams faced up, the Winnipeg Jets were able to get that 3-0 win. The Preds should be able to come in here with the confidence winning their last 2 to be able to put up that goal in the first. And then Winnipeg will answer back, Kevin.
And then, Joe, we look here tonight. We've got a couple of home dogs. We'll start in Anaheim against Calgary. How do you feel about Anaheim right now at that plus price?
Okay, they're quacking, Kevin. You know I'm a Calgary Flames fan, but a little birdie did tell me that it's a wives trip here for the Calgary Flames. And the Calgary Flames in practice yesterday in Anaheim, they just were not working well together out there on the ice. And I do think it's a hard spot. It's take your wife to work weekend here or weekday here for the Calgary Flames. Not a spot I want to bet on them. I'm going to take the Anaheim Ducks. You look at Dostal in net. He's been strong, and it is Dan Vladar expected here for Calgary. Troy Terry has really been stepping up. Strome has been playing well as well, and I think the Ducks can give Calgary a race in this one. Now, you look at Calgary, and they've been very strong playing in Anaheim, but those road struggles this season, they're 5-8-4 out there on the road. I'm not laying juice with this team with Dan Vladar in net. It might be a little bit different if it was Dustin Wolf, but it's not tonight. So I'm looking for the Ducks to be quacking at home, Kevin.
All right, and then what about San Jose, Joe? We're going to get to some NFL postseason quickly before we let you get out of here. But what about the Sharks? Big price, the biggest remaining on the slate tonight.
Yeah, Vegas is so overpriced here, especially when they looked past Montreal just a couple of games back. This is a team that we know it's a stronger team on paper, but you look at the Sharks team playing with confidence. They have won their last 2, and they really have been stepping up against some really good teams. You look at them, they were able to beat both the New Jersey Devils and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So we saw Montreal in the same situation roll into the Fortress and be able to do that to Vegas. And now Vegas is out there on the road. And I think they probably overlook the San Jose Sharks, because you look at their schedule in front of them. On Thursday, they have the Isles back at home. And then they have a weekend back-to-back scheduled with the New York Rangers and the Minnesota Wild. So when we're looking at their schedule, this is one where they think it should be an easy win. And this Sharks team, with Celebrini, Tyler Toffoli has really stepped up. They've been able to get those goals, and I think they push Vegas in this one. So I'm willing to take the Sharks. You could look at them first period money line, first period puck line. I like both ways, and I would look at them for the full game as well. But that first period puck line coming in at, you just have to take the money line plus 205 in the first period.
All right, so perhaps then some early action from San Jose. The earliest game that we'll see, Joe, on the NFL slate, it is the LA Chargers. I know there was early season trepidation for you around that group, but they have got themselves not only into the playoffs, but in what is projected to be the kindest matchup to any of the wild card teams, booked as a favorite. How do you feel about their chances against Houston?
Okay, Kevin, you said the line that terrifies me. Everyone thinks this is the matchup everyone wanted versus the Houston Texans, which is a scary situation. You've got a live dog at home here in the Houston Texans that no one's given a chance in the playoffs. Everyone wanted this matchup. All Chargers fans wanted this matchup, and it puts me in an uneasy situation. I do think this defense, even though they had struggles in the red zone, they've had solid success in the secondary. They've been able to get those sacks, and they'll be able to put that pressure on Justin Herbert. So while I like my Chargers and I think they can get the win here, I think it's not going to come easy. It's going to be a hard day at the office for the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh will have to come with the best game plan. Now, they're going to have to utilize Justin Herbert with his legs as well as with his arm. J.K. Dobbins should be in for a solid day on the ground, and the Chargers will look to get up and eat up that clock. But that offensive line, we need Slater and Alt to absolutely give Herbert all of the protection they can, because it's not going to be an easy one with that defense looking to sack Justin Herbert. So I'm looking at Justin Herbert over 1.5 passing touchdowns because of the lack of success in the red zone the defense had for the Texans. But Kevin, it's going to be a hard battle. I'd look at the Texans team total to the under as well.
A little under than for Houston. Certainly projected to be a lower scoring game. I'm excited to watch that one play out. Herbert looking for that first postseason win. Joe, I know you're going to be excited for that one as well. Great to catch up. Appreciate you making some time here on a Tuesday night.
Thanks, Kevin. And yeah, I'm really excited Saturday morning. Hopefully the Chargers will be moving on.
All right, again, that is Joe Madden there. We're going to take a quick break with you right here. It is Game Time Decisions on a Tuesday night. We'll update you on this college basketball board next.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all
people. You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
This is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here on Game Time Decisions. Let's take a look at this college basketball board right now and see where some of the updated movement is nearing the end of some of the opening halves here within these top 25 matchups. Lower scoring, unfortunately for me, between Duke and Pittsburgh. It could pick up the live spread right around that pregame number, 14.5 pregame, 14.5 at this exact moment in game. Georgia up on Kentucky. And right now at a 161.5 total. The Bulldogs are a 5.5-point live favorite in that one. How about Arizona running it on West Virginia right now, up to a 10.5-point favored on the road, unranked against a ranked opponent in that game. Tennessee, the offense, completely no showing this basketball game. They were held scoreless for the first 7 minutes of action here nearly, which is incredible. They're presently getting doubled up on by the Gators right now, catching 11.5 on the live line. That total checks in at 136.5. For me, Vols action not going great. Arizona team total, that is certainly going well. I'm getting basically nothing out of Austin Newell right now. I will say I'm here. I don't have the closest eye on the game. If you told me he was injured, that makes sense. I'm not following how Austin Newell has 0 rebounds in this matchup right now. Could just be a slow start, though, for the freshman in a big one against Kentucky. We have also started things out in Dallas, where I'm on that Mavericks team total over at 106.5. Does go against coach's pick in that game. I like the bounce back spot for Dallas. I like the bounce back spot for Draymond Green on the rebounds plus assists. Well under in the last 2 games, but off of a blowout. I think you get an A-plus effort out of Draymond specifically going up against Miami. The big game tonight between Denver and Boston has received some unfortunate big news. We know how this occasionally goes within the NBA. You can get into some bigger conversations around it if you'd like, but we don't need to right now. Jokic, though, questionable for this game due to a non-COVID illness. It's moved this number up to 8.5 for Boston. The totals come down a bit to 234.5. I have a Kristaps Porzingis over 18.5 points bet in. Call me crazy. I'd rather Jokic play. I don't need a blowout. And then KP only played 24 minutes. When Porzingis has played 30 or more minutes for Boston this year, I believe all but one game he's gone through that 18.5 number. So for me, I like my chances with Kristaps with Jokic in. Yeah, he could get it with Jokic out, but, keep the game closer. That's my expectation there. I'm curious if Jokic plays, which, certainly the line seems to be thinking he won't, but if he does, will his numbers be lowered at all? If he is in the moment so sick and under the weather that he might miss the game, but ultimately says, you know what, big game, national team, he probably doesn't care that's on TNT, but big game, big opponent, I want to play for it. Do the books go, well, maybe he's not 100%. A player who is averaging 31.5 points per game, along with 13 rebounds and 9.7 assists. A player who has scored 41 and 46 in the last 2 games. To open January, just a ho-hum will round up 37, 15, and 11. I don't even know how these numbers are real. That's what he's averaging, though. Do they drop the numbers on Nikola Jokic? Or let me see if actually any of the shops out there are still hanging Nikola Jokic numbers tonight. Because you could probably make a strong case to play. Again, if he's that sick, right, you should be able to play under. I'm seeing a 29.5 right now for points. I'm seeing 12.5 for the rebounds. I mean, that's 8.5 assists. That's about what you expect, right? That's about where that usually is. So I'd keep tabs on that situation. That's going to be late night. You probably won't get word until closer to 9 o'clock when it comes to that game. That's probably when you'll initially get word to come down around that one. Let me just quickly run through the remaining action for me on the college basketball card. We have 2 picks that have not started yet. The first one is going to be an SEC play between Texas and Auburn. I saw the number, and I wanted to bet Texas. At home, double digits, preseason expectations. But I really can't, right?
Texas has played one of the easiest strength of schedules in basketball. They've lost to all the good teams they've played. Auburn is a wagon with one loss. Now, the one loss was in their only true road game this year. I do not want to downplay what Auburn has done. They won it, Maui. It's a neutral. They're incredible. And the one loss, by the way, on the road was Duke, who is the second best team in college basketball behind Auburn. National championship odds, Ken Palm, a lot of things would back that up. So I'm not desperate to get in front of Auburn. I was interested in it. But I realized that Trey Johnson was the way to play. Now, maybe Trey Johnson will struggle against Auburn. Maybe. I think there's a chance he flourishes. Was awful against Texas A&M. 2 of 13 from the field, 11 points. Didn't make a three. But A&M, at the moment, grades out better defensively than Auburn. They play a little bit slower than the Tigers as well. I'm getting a star like Trey Johnson in a bounce-back spot. I have Trey Johnson, who's played great against UConn, right? 24 points, 53% from the field, despite them losing by double digits. Played great against Ohio State, 29 points, 50% from the field, despite them losing by more than margin. Certainly didn't cover what was a near pick-em number against Ohio State in the 8-point loss. Trey Johnson's the way to play at 16.5, averaging 19 a game. Multiple 20-plus point performances against the high-level competition that has, the rare one, but the competition that has shown up on the plate here. I like my chances tonight with Trey Johnson. We'll talk a little more around the college board with you as well. We're here. It's on SportsGrid. Game time.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're with you right here on SportsGrid Game Time Decisions. Up next, you're going to get in-game live. And, of course, Dave Sharapan will be in the mix there. Consig stopping by quick. Tell me, Dave, the chatter around town, I know you always have the ear to the ground. College hoops tonight, everybody's talking?
Oh, I mean, let me see. What is the game? Tennessee, Florida. That's the one that.
I have a question. Yeah.
We talked about that. And then, I mean, I don't know. Georgia getting points at home. We talked about that. And then what's the game later? West Virginia getting points at home against Arizona. And is there a 6 o'clock game that I think we have focused on? I think that's it, K-Dub. Those ones.
Let me ask you something, Dave. You brought up a game that I am at the moment on the wrong side of. It's fine. It happens. I was aware it could go this way. Florida, Tennessee. 34-15 right now is the score in that game.
Wow.
I got a good number, so I get to, put it in the can at +4 for the Vols.
Yeah.
My reason for betting Tennessee, Dave, is that the only way to justify what was at the time, again, was +4, is essentially home court advantage is now worth about 6 points in college. Maybe it is. I know that I throw this your way a lot, around various sports, but we're at that. What, to guys you talk to, maybe do a check-in again for me if you could. What is home court advantage worth in a college basketball game?
It's crazy. Everybody weighs it different. But I think I don't want to say it depends because that's the easy and obvious answer. But it does depend on who it is and when it is. Like the games on a Tuesday night might be different than the games on a Saturday morning, a Saturday night, a standalone game. I don't know, these Friday night games, some couple conferences are trying to take over maybe Friday nights a little bit. So I want to say you can't quantify it just blanket with a number, but it's really hard to win on the road in college basketball. And it feels like despite the fact that teams may be better on a neutral and may be higher ranked going into another school's place, you take the home team. You side with the home team more often than not, and the lines are shaded that way. I don't know if it's 6, but there's probably gyms where it's 4, 3, and that minimum.
Yeah, I just here's the point that I use, Dave. Right, so Florida caught 3.5 at Kentucky, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And if the number's 3.5, that means that if you put the game at Florida, right, Florida would lay 3.5 to Kentucky. But
Close.
that's what
2.5 to 3. Okay, yeah.
But that's what they were laying to Tennessee, and I know the books don't think Tennessee and Kentucky are the same team.
Not even close. Yeah, not even close.
So again, to me, I said this to some of our guys bet Florida. I said, look, you'll probably win. I just don't think you got a great number. Right? And look, ultimately, I got 4, good number, cool, right? But I'm now trying to figure this out. When they're setting these numbers, are they just going, okay, what do we make the game if things were normal? And then we just got to slap a bunch of points. Because to justify Florida's most 2 recent games are Kentucky and Tennessee. To justify those numbers, home court's worth 8. I'm not kidding.
No, I know not that much, but it's a lot.
But Dave, that's how you what is Tennessee, Kentucky on a neutral right now based on the perception around those teams? Tennessee 4.5?
I was gonna say 5.5, probably.
Okay, yeah.
And then the market dictates it too. Now, don't forget, we ain't got no more football to worry about. So these numbers are going to move quickly. I don't think this opened 3.5, right? I mean, it's closed. It was a little bit less before, but game's not over, K-Dub. Tennessee can come back, no? Or is it a wrap? That's it.
I mean, they're 0 of 14 from 3, which you might say, oh, don't worry, it'll get better. Their opponent is 2 of 12. They're down 19.
Ouch.
Even if it gets better for Tennessee, is it going to get better enough? I highly doubt it. Consig, appreciate you stopping by. Make sure you keep it here on SportsGrid. In-game live is next.
there is going to